It's absolutely apptacular. The Subject Cinema Android app. Everything you need to be a rabid Subject Cinema fan. Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, and Front Row 5 and 10. All right at your fingertips and available instantly. Plus, email and voicemail links, Facebook and Twitter hookups, Patreon support specials, and more is coming real soon. Don't just listen, app it. The all-in-one Subject Cinema podcast app. Android version available now at Google Play or on PNR Network websites. Amazon and iPhone apps coming soon. Don't delay. Download today.
Blueberry. This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Oh, yay. Yes, it's going to be fun today.
Hon.
What?
Hon, what are you doing?
I'm happy.
I can see that, but you're bouncing off. You're bouncing all over the place like the Easter Bunny on crack. What is wrong with you?
I got to see the movie I've been waiting for all year.
Oh, that.
Yes, that.
Well, there's other things that are part of the show, too, this week.
There are?
Yes, there are.
Oh.
Don't you know when it is?
Sunday.
It's December.
Oh, yes.
It's the end of the year.
Time as we start our month-long countdown toward the Poppies and Rosies with our year-end review. This week we're going to talk about the year in movies and the disastrous results therein in some cases, and a few other things. We got a few reviews. And as we are speaking, we will have some award news, and as we are actually recording, the Los Angeles film critics are announcing their awards on Twitter, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. It's all immediate stuff, don't you think? And it's all right here, right now. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Like sands through the end of the year.
This is Subject Cinema, and please stop dancing before you pull something.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
This town needs an enema.
Celebrating a decade of film podcasting. Lasting out of Beantown, USA, you're tuned into Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Directive.
Oh, behave. Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Suppose you run your business and let me run mine. Here's looking at you, kid.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome TC and Kim.
Ow, 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 ow!
Don't sell the dance studio, Fred.
Okay, I guess maybe you're right. Maybe we couldn't have done Dancing with the Stars. Okay, fine.
You
Can I have the ice pack, please?
No.
Welcome to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
Subject Cinema number 591, day and date, December 3rd, 2017. It is time to kick off December, last year of the month, with our annual...
Last year of the month?
Oh, sorry. It's Spoonerism time! Also, last month of the year. Thank you. Didn't even notice that.
You don't want the ice for your ankle. You want the ice for the martini that's behind your back that you think I don't see.
I hate Jen. No, I don't want martini. It's the last month of the year, and we're going to start our year-end stuff this week. We'll talk more in each week the next 3 weeks about all the awards coming down. We'll have a few of them today, but there'll be much more of them the next 2 weeks, and we will be talking about our stuff and a lot of other things, and just go over the basic year. Plus, we do have some other subject set of stuff. We will have later in the show, we will have reviews of Lady Macbeth and Batman the Killing Joke from Kim, and The Disaster Artist, starring James Franco as Tommy Wiseau. And this is going to be something. Plus, we got a Grinch watch and a few other things, so we hope that you'll
Yes.
Stay tuned. This is going to be an interesting 3 weeks.
It should be, yeah.
Let me give you the calendar. For the next 3 weeks, we're going to go over stuff in general. On week 4, that's Christmas Eve, we will be talking goofy stuff as we present our annual Just 'Cause We Can awards, the early part of the Poppies and Rosies. On December 28th, I believe it might be the 29th, depending on our scheduling, we will have our Subject Cinema year-end top 10, top 20 Baker's Dozen announcements for you. And, of course, on New Year's Eve, which is a Sunday this year, the 13th annual Poppies and Rosies Awards. I wonder 13? If that's going to be a great year or what.
I'm going with Lucky. Lucky 13.
I hope so. We got so many movies to catch up on the next 3 weeks. It's scary.
Yeah.
I have like 20 movies I want to see before we even start thinking about Poppies and Rosies. So it's like, okay. Anyway, it's been an interesting week. We've been having this issue the last few weeks. You may have noticed it because it's kind of slowing up our schedule and screwing us up every now and then. Our work schedules have gotten a little bit crazy because of all the stuff going on at work that's going to be going on through March. And so everybody's bouncing off the walls and our commutes are screwed up and everything. So we hope you'll be continuing to be a little patient with us.
Yep.
But other than that, how was your week?
It was okay. Just did the whole, work and commute and movies and my birthday and stuff like that. And,
yes, happy birthday.
Yes. I made it through another year. hopefully
next year will be the fun year.
Hopefully we'll make it. Well, I'll make it to next year. Hopefully, Oh,
I don't think I'll have any problem making it. You better not do that to me.
Well, I'm just saying.
I have huge plans for next year.
Tomorrow is not guaranteed to any of us.
That's morbid.
It's not morbid. It's just.
Yes, it is morbid.
Well, I looked at myself in the mirror.
That's Incredible Shrinking Man morbid.
I looked at myself in the mirror the day after my birthday, and I looked at myself and I said, "Self,
I knew she was going to do that.
Is that the face of a year-old woman looking back at you? Don't you dare!"
Let's just say next year is a decade mark.
Yes.
So.
I'll be old enough to drink. Hooray!
That's not a decade mark. That's 21.
Yeah.
That's not a decade mark.
And I am turning 21.
Twice, plus a few years.
Shut it! Now!
I'm 54 and she's 5.5 years younger than me. So there you can figure it out yourself.
You son of an onion.
I didn't say how old you were. Anyway.
So I want to say, the reason I brought this up was to say thank you to everybody that wished me good birthday wishes online and stuff like that. I appreciate it. I love you all. And that made me feel really... No, it made me feel really good.
Podcast kisses. Is that to follow with the butterfly kisses?
You know what that song does to me. Stop that.
Well, what about dragonfly kisses?
I'm not afraid of dragonflies anymore. Stop that.
Remember, isn't that the name of that weird movie coming out, Dragonfly Kisses?
Oh, yeah.
Which I cannot wait to see from the sound of it. It premiered at one of the festivals this fall.
Yeah, or something like that.
All done from closed-circuit television footage.
Yeah, but they made up stories.
They
made up a story around that. This is just weird.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting way off topic. Anyway.
So, where we're talking about years and such, we should look back at this year. 2017. Wow. Can you believe we're in December of 2017? Because I sure as hell can't.
Time flies when you get older. Have you noticed?
Who's being more?
No, I'm being honest. When you're in school, you can't wait to get to be old enough to graduate. And then by the time you get to middle age, the years go by so fast. And when you're pushing senior age, as I am, it seems to be... although I don't act like it or think like it, or look like it.
No, you don't actually.
It seems like it just goes willy-nilly too fast.
It does seem that way. Yeah. You do kind of go like, wow, it's like the whole year's gone by already, and that's, it's weird.
But before we get to all the year in review stuff, let's get to the big stuff. It's been a while since we actually had one, and now we do. Head over to the main screen, and we'll have the word on whether or not James Franco can pull off a miracle.
Tonight's movie contains sights and sounds so impressive, you'll wonder why we didn't charge you admission.
Candy and popcorn are available from our snack bar. As a courtesy to all in attendance today, please refrain from smoking or talking during our future presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The movie is about to begin.
The main screen.
Okay, who here can really reveal themselves to the class? Anybody?
I'll go.
Don't talk about me, not to class, not to anybody.
Yeah, no, of course.
Sharp on time, try not to fall asleep, everybody.
Am I hearing an accent?
Oh, no, what do you mean?
How old are you?
Oh, wow, Greg age.
You're 19? Yeah. I just turned 14.
Wow, happy birthday. This is my movie.
Back in 2003, there was an independent movie released that took Hollywood with a collective yawn. Over the years, it developed a cult following and eventually became known as the Citizen Kane of bad movies. The movie is a film called The Room, written by, produced by, directed by a very mysterious man, and starring a very mysterious man named Tommy Wiseau. Now, the making of that movie has been brought to the big screen in a film based on the book written by a co-star of that film, Greg Sestero. It should be interesting to see James Franco and Dave Franco playing Tommy and Greg, respectively, and a cast of faces you know from everywhere in The Disaster Artist. Give us the rundown.
Okay. I would like to make one teensy little correction to what you said at the beginning, that the film was met by a collective yawn from Hollywood. I think, actually...
Well, it took until 2009 for the cult to develop.
No, I realize that, but I'm thinking anybody who saw this movie wouldn't have been yawning.
Oh, well, okay,
they might have been gasping.
Gasping would probably be a better name, yes.
But I don't think they were yawning. The year is 1998, the place is San Francisco, and Greg Sestero is trying to live his dream. He is a 19-year-old kid that wants to become an actor, like a lot of people do. He is taking an acting class.
Forgot the fresh-faced kid.
Yeah.
Babyface.
Babyface. You never want to hear that phrase again after this movie. The singer's going to have to change his name. Greg could actually be a good actor, possibly, if he didn't have crippling stage fright. Another member of his acting class, however, is not afflicted with this. That would be a man named Tommy Wiseau, whose interpretation of Stanley Kowalski's Stella scene from A Streetcar Named Desire must be seen to be believed. And I don't mean that in a good way. Greg is, however, impressed with Tommy's boldness and bravery and, complete extrovertism. I don't know what else you'd call it. And they wind up becoming fast friends. To the point where they actually wind up moving in together. They decide they're going to be serious about pursuing their dream of becoming movie stars. And they move to L.A., to the apartment that Tommy already has in L.A. because, oh, by the way, this is something he forgot to mention. On top of the house that he had, the house that he's living in San Francisco. Because Tommy's apparently got buckets of money and an unlimited supply of said that we never do find out where it comes from. No. All we know is there's a lot of it, and it ain't running out anytime soon. So, on they go to pursue their careers of stardom. And that, shockingly, does not work out the way it does in the movies where you get discovered at a, soda fountain. Because they don't have soda fountains anymore. A random conversation that they're having and a very random remark that Greg makes about how they should make their own movie. Oh, Greg, if you'd never made that remark. You can almost see the light bulb go off over Tommy's head. Tommy winds up writing the script for a film he calls The Room, a film that he wants to direct, produce, and star in, along with Greg as the second male lead. And thus begins a journey that I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, I thought they had it. This actually makes what happened on Apocalypse Now look like a cakewalk, and Martin Sheen had a heart attack during that. What we get at the end of this film, the making of this film, is The Room. And we get the reaction for the first night of the first screening of what is considered the Citizen Kane of bad movies. And we get to see what went on behind the scenes.
With Dave Franco as Greg Sestero, who also plays Mark in The Room. James Franco, his brother, directing the film and playing Tommy Wiseau. Seth Rogen as script supervisor Sandy. Ari Grainer as Juliet, who plays Lisa in The Room. Alison Brie as Amber. Jackie Weaver as Carolyn, who played Claudette in The Room. Paul Scheer as cinematographer Raphael. Zac Efron as Dan, the actor that played Chris R. in The Room. Josh Hutcherson as Philip Haldeman, the kid that played Denny in The Room. Diane Raphael as Robin, who plays Michelle in The Room, along with appearances by Megan Mullally, Sharon Stone, Melanie Griffith, Judd Apatow, Charlene Yee, Hannibal Buress, and a handful of other familiar faces throughout, including cameos by Tommy and Greg. Mm-hmm. What's your take on this? I have been waiting for this movie since I heard it was going to be made. I had read Greg's book 3 or 4 years ago, and I was just waiting for this to be done.
Oh, yes, you have.
So what did you think? You saw it with a sold-out crowd at the Boston AMC, Boston Common AMC, and it was sold out.
Fascinating.
Thank you, Spock.
No, seriously. There's no other way to word it. It is fascinating. I feel really bad because for a long time we were behind the curve on The Room.
Yeah, we didn't see The Room until we started the Masochistic March series about 5 years ago. Mm-hmm.
We kept hearing about how awful this movie was, and I was like, we
saw it before Franco saw it, though. That's interesting enough.
Myself, being a long-time Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan, and a long-time cult movie fan, and a long-time masochist, movie-wise...
Mwah! Good night, everybody!
The rest of that's none of your business, and we don't judge here. I was like, how awful could this movie be? And thinking to myself, it can't be any worse. It can't be worse than some of the stuff that I've seen on Mystery Science Theater 3000, Plan 9
It couldn't be worse than Birdemic.
It couldn't be worse than Birdemic. And then I saw The Room, and I was like, holy sugar-covered crickets on a moped, this is bad. I don't think it's the worst movie ever made.
No, Birdemic 2 comes close to making that list.
is much worse than this movie.
Which we saw the same year we started this, so.
But it's terrible. I mean, it is jaw-droppingly awful. And I do remember...
In a good way.
In a good way. It is. It really is, because it's not...
Some of the performances are actually not that bad.
No.
In The Room. It's just that the script is so terrible.
Yeah.
You just can't get past it.
You can't. You can be a terrific actor, and you can wind up in an absolutely shite film. And there's only so much you can do with the dialogue. I mean, Marlon Brando was an amazing actor. Have you ever seen Confessions in a Golden Eye? I sat through the trailer and I was like, no. Anyway, but. I remember when we were watching The Room, and I remember sitting there thinking to myself, what in the name of all that is decent and holy were these people thinking when they were
she was thinking while she was trying to hear the dialogue around my absolutely hysterical laughter.
Yeah. See, so some of us were actually trying to pay attention to the movie.
I was paying attention.
So there. No, you were. I'm just fooling. But really, it is... And this film answers those questions. It really does. But I do have to say that one thing about this film that I really want to bring up is the fact that there is a message here. And it's actually a really good message. And the message is, if you have a dream, go for it. Don't let anybody else tell you you can't do it. Go for it. At the end result, it may not be what you want. It may not be what you intended it to be, but at least you can look back and say you did it. You know, you don't have to go through the rest of your life saying, oh, I thought about, but I never did. Or other things came up and I just never got around to. You can look back and say, yeah, I crashed and burned, but you know what? I crashed and burned and it was spectacular. And that's really what this film is about, I think. Although I do have to bring up something that I thought about and I really didn't think about until we saw this film. And I'm really ashamed of myself that it never occurred to me. There's a scene early on in the film when Greg and Tommy are driving toward L.A., and there's a song playing on the radio. And this is a song that people are, well aware of now, and it
here we go.
No, I'm not going to bring up...
This is Kim's conspiracy theory.
No, I'm not going to go into it any further because I want people to see the film.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there and I was like, oh, ha, what an interesting choice of song. Wait a minute. And the penny dropped and I went, oh, my Lord. I was like, oh, my Lord and Taylor, what if this is an enormous... You know what? You have to see the movie to get that. But if I ever turn out that I'm right,
you're not right. It's just too ridiculous to be
I'm
right.
going to stand on a rooftop and scream, "I told you so," till they shoot me down. The cast is amazing in this film. They do a wonderful job because playing a character is difficult. Playing a real person, especially when the real person is still alive, that's very dicey. You are juggling with hand grenades when you're doing that, because you know that if you do a bad job or that person thinks you did a bad job of portraying them, they're going to tell everybody they know that they think you really suck. And I have to be honest and say that James Franco, I always thought was an amazing actor. I've seen him in so many things, and one film that we both saw him in that was really amazing, unfortunately not enough people saw, The Iceman. He was really good in that. It's not an enormous part, but he's really good in that. He is terrifying in The Disaster Artist. It's
in a good way.
In a good way.
I assume.
In an absolutely amazing way. It is like, I'm sitting there going, it's like he absorbed every ounce of Tommy Wiseau's aura and actually literally became him, like a freaking pod person or something from Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It was terrifying. Greg, being played by Dave Franco, is... The thing about Dave's take on Greg is that it's a little too starry-eyed for me.
Okay.
I find it a little hard to swallow that a 19-year-old male in at the end of the 90s is going to be that much of a wide-eyed innocent growing up in California?
In a San Francisco suburb, in a cloistered house, yeah.
Well, I guess, but I don't know. I just found that a little bit difficult to buy.
Okay.
It's really an entertaining look at a train wreck. And before I let you talk, I just want to bring up one more thing. There's the scene at the end. This is not a spoiler. Everybody knows it's here. There's a scene at the end. The whole back half of the film is when they're done with the film and it's being premiered. And so everybody in the cast is at the film premiere. So they're all watching with an audience as we're watching them watch the film, and this is getting very never-ending story.
Okay.
That whole scene, and I said this to you that night, it reminded me of an execution. You know those, when you see like a crime drama or a movie where they have an execution in a prison, and they have the small window and they pull the curtain back and there's the person in the death chamber and there's all the people sitting there watching. I was like sitting there like, so this is what it's like to watch an execution, huh? Because you as an audience the audience watching the film, you know what's going to happen. You know how the audience is going to react. And the weird thing is, considering the fact that there are times in this film when Tommy is severely unlikable, when that happens and you see his reaction, I was sitting there like, oh man, oh shoot. You know, I felt really bad. And that's a real testament to James Franco as an actor, I think. What about you?
What about me?
Well, what's your opinion of it? You've been waiting for this movie for a year. You have not shut up about this movie for a year.
This movie is a freaking riot from beginning to end. I have not laughed this hard in a long, long time. I am not satisfied with the casting of Dave Franco. I love Dave and nearly everything else he does, and he's great here, but he doesn't have the presence that Greg has. Greg was 2 inches taller than Tommy and had a longer face. Dave is shorter than Tommy and is round in the face.
Yes.
And if you've seen The Room, it doesn't gel.
No.
If you haven't seen The Room, then you're fine. That's great.
If you haven't seen The Room, I can't see why you'd see this movie.
Oh, I can. It's just a general comedy. You don't need to see The Room to get a kick out of it, and it's going to make more people want to see The Room in the long run. James Franco is one of those people that I can take or leave. Sometimes I really like him. Other times I think he sucks. This movie, he has... you might give him the Golden Globe for Best Comedy Actor right now, because he's not going to get... You're not going to find anybody else that's even going to come close to what this guy does in this film. He's channeling Tommy. It's terrifying.
It is.
He may even pull out an Oscar nomination. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I think he'll get a nomination. I don't know if
I don't think he'll win.
If
he does, I'll be surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets nominated. But the Golden Globe is practically his. Just hand it to him on a silver platter. Of the other performances throughout the film, Jackie Weaver plays Caroline, the actress that got stuck with the terrible "I definitely have breast cancer" line. And she calls Tommy on this. She's like, Tommy, does this come up anywhere else in this? Oh no, it's a bonus or something like that?
Twist.
It's a twist. And she's
like, I don't
what?
Think, I'm sitting
She's
there going,
a professional actress.
Yeah.
Josh Hutcherson captures Philip Haldeman beautifully. Philip is another one who's out there talking about his experiences now, and he wrote a great comic book called My Big Break, which is terrific. He's now a writer. Here is a guy who put himself through college, and he has a master's degree in theater, and his first role ruined his career.
Yep.
I feel terrible for Philip.
Yeah.
Philip is very nice to the fans. He loves the fans and enjoys, but he's now spending most of his time as a writer. He works for the Gannett Company doing articles for stuff for local area where he lives in Arizona, and also occasionally pop up on USA Today and those places. But, Josh captures him hilariously, and it's scary to me to know, as if you've read Greg's book, you do know, of the entire cast with the exception of Tommy, Philip was the oldest member of the cast, and he was playing the youngest character.
Yeah.
He was 25 or 26. He didn't look it, but he was. And
Denny's only supposed to be,
15, 16, according to Tommy.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my God. Josh does this beautifully. The entire cast is great. There's some great cameos. Sharon Stone has a great cameo that it's only one scene as Iris Burton, Greg's agent, and Melanie Griffith as their acting teacher. And Judd Apatow, who I can't stand normally, is hysterical as an unnamed Hollywood producer that Tommy comes upon in a restaurant. And it's a pivotal scene in the film, but Apatow gives a great performance. And it was nice to see Charlene Yee, who I don't see very often. I don't watch the kind of stuff she's in, but she's here playing Sephoya, the wardrobe person. And she's really
We
really
loved
funny.
her in
Paper Heart is one of the best kept secrets around.
Yeah.
You also get quirky little cameos from Casey Wilson as a casting director. Zoe Deutsch is in the film. You have a great opening with several major stars talking about their love for The Room And it's a real. It's not a work.
Yeah.
It is real.
Better Call Saul star Bob Odenkirk as a teacher of the Stanislavski method.
Oh yeah, that's the guy that was in the class. That's right. I knew him, and I couldn't place him. And both Tommy and Greg have small cameos. Also want to warn you, there is some great stuff during the credits, between the credits, and there is a post-credit scene with Franco and Tommy.
Yes.
So don't leave. What's your score?
I give The Disaster Artist an A-. It was funny. It was sad. And there was actually a couple of parts that was sweet, but there were a few things that just dinged off for me. You know. And one of them is a deeply personal thing, and I won't go into it.
Okay.
But it's fun. And if you are a fan of The Room, you should really see this, because if you thought the actual film was a complete acid trip, wait till you see what happened behind the scenes. What about you?
If you've never seen The Room and you see The Disaster Artist, it's going to make you want to see The Room. If you've heard of The Room but haven't seen it, and go see this, because then you'll really want to see it, because it's kind of goofy. If you're a fan of The Room, this is just gravy. It's just so funny and so well written by screenwriters Scott Neustadter, and of course that has to pop up right in my face. Michael H. Weber, taken from the book by Greg Sestero and Tom Bissell. It is a riot from beginning to end, and Franco does a great job directing as well. James Franco directed, and it's going to be a Hollywood classic, I think. There are a couple of things keep me from giving it a top score, but it is definitely one of this Christmas's biggest movie hits. The Disaster Artist gets a solid A from me.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
PNR Network shows depend on our listeners. It's you that makes us who we are. Help us bring you all the best we can. Become a Patreon patron. Donations start at just $2 a month, and the more patrons we can get, the more we'll be able to offer. You can get great perks, plus exclusive blogs and podcasts available only for being a patron as well. It's absolutely fantastic. So please, become a Patreon patron today. We need you. Patreon.com/PNR Networks.
If you're looking for great films, well, that's okay. You'll like us anyway. Subject Cinema.
So, 2017, the year in movies.
Yes.
We're going to be discussing this the next 3 weeks, and this has been the most up and down year I can remember in Hollywood history, when it seems like every surefire film became a box office bomb, or a critical bomb. Every movie that was expected to bomb became an unexpected box office smash. A lot of indie films made inroads that nobody expected. It's just been the most crazy year all the way around. I mean, it started off early, too. I mean, I'm just going to have to pull up my letterbox to go through some stuff, but, I mean, did this year seem as weird to you as it did to me?
It did. I mean, every year, or at least I wouldn't say every year, but I would say the last 5 years, at the end of the year, Hollywood has been playing the same song. Every year it's, oh, we didn't do as well. Oh, it was a terrible year. Oh, poor us. And that's why we're bumping up the ticket prices 5% next year.
Well, that's not them. That's the theaters, because they have to. They can't survive without it.
But Hollywood, wouldn't you agree that seems to be only like in the past maybe 5-10 years, when every year Hollywood's saying, oh, well, we didn't make, we made $40 million on this film when we should have made $45 million, so therefore it's a bomb.
Yeah.
And because...
Well, you got to figure in, though, a lot of films that are considered bombs are considered such because not only did they not make back their production costs, they also didn't make back their marketing costs. We're looking at Justice League really falling short because it critically bombed. Most of the fans sort of liked it, but wanted more. And I liked it, and you liked it.
Yeah.
But it's not coming close to its $200 million price tag, plus another $100 million reshoot, and $70 million more for marketing.
Right.
So you've got all this extra money. I mean, it probably will come close to break even, but not quite.
I think part of the deal is simply the fact that I think a lot of people are just sick of it.
Sick of what?
They're sick of listening to Hollywood bitch about the fact that, oh, we didn't make as much money this year. Oh, it was a terrible year. When
I think, you know what? I think that became quite obvious last November.
Well, people are pretty much fed up with something, you know. And
a lot of it has to do with it was just like, I'm tired of this. And now Hollywood's having fits because people are saying, we don't like your product. And Hollywood's going, well, it's the only thing we're giving you, so you have to watch it because it's good.
Yeah.
And no, it's not. Sorry, I'm doing my Drew Lynch invitation again. Sorry, I don't mean to be.
That's where I'm coming from. Is the fact that people listen to what Hollywood is saying, and then
they go, you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the whole idea that these people are making enough money to fund a small country in some studios' cases, and you have people in this country who are literally living paycheck to paycheck and have to decide between the people that have to decide paying. Can they afford their medicine for the month for their child, or can they pay for rent? And things like that. And they have to listen to these people in Hollywood whine because they didn't make, $100 billion this year.
And when you think about it, only 2 of the blockbusters were the actual blockbusters they were expected to be. And they were both sequels of sorts, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Wonder Woman. These are the only 2 that were huge across the board. And I mean, of course, over there at the playlist, they were convinced that Wonder Woman was going to suck and just going to do what they could to drive it into the ground until the critical reviews came out and they were glowing.
Well, I wouldn't call Wonder Woman a sequel.
Well, it is a sequel. It's part of the DC universe.
It's an origin story.
Fine. It's part of an established universe, though. It's not an independent film.
No, okay.
And neither was Guardians of the Galaxy. So basically, you had a Marvel movie and a DC movie that were the 2 biggest films of the year. And it's like, okay.
Well, according to...
Go ahead.
According to the Wikipedia article that I'm looking at, thank you, Wikipedia, the top grossing films for 2017, and this is the worldwide gross.
Right.
I'm just going to read this.
Which is what Hollywood doesn't like to do. Whenever the news, have you ever noticed when you're looking, if you look at the major trades, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, they cover it. The gossip trades online, the ones that are most visited by movie fans as well as insiders, Deadline, IndieWire, The Wire, and The Playlist, and a couple of other ones, Hollywood Elsewhere, a couple other ones, often, they won't bring up the worldwide box office. They're too fixated on the U.S. box office. Because if they fixate on the U.S. box office, their predictions of bombs come true a lot more often than looking at the worldwide box office.
They can say, oh, well, this movie did this much.
It's a Playlist specialty.
Yeah, they can say the movie did this much in America, so that makes it a flop. Never mind that it made like $1 kabillion worldwide. Nope, that doesn't matter because it only made this much in America. It's a flop.
If I may, just as a good example, and not from a DC movie, no matter how you put it up, and no matter how bad you call it a bomb, in America, Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets is not a bomb worldwide. It was a hit around the world. It was a huge hit in its native France, and it made almost its entire funding back. Which is why they're writing the sequel. So it's not, Valerian tanked in America without a question, and it shouldn't have. It was a great film, but I get so irritated.
You liked it a lot.
Eric liked it too.
Yeah, I know.
Our friend Eric Lyon, and a lot of people liked it that saw it, and now I'm seeing more and more people going, oh my God, I can't believe I missed this when I was in the theater.
Yeah,
because nobody went to see it in the theater, and now that it's out on home video and people were watching it, they're going like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And it's like it was a fun, exciting, awesome film filled with unbelievable CGI images and great performances from Dane DeHaan, Cara Delevingne, and a whole bunch of other great people. Yep. So it's like,
I'm not sure as of when this list was, because other movies have come out since. But according to this list from Wikipedia, the highest grossing films of 2017, I'm going to go from 10 to 1.
Okay.
Starting with number 10, It. Number 9, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. Number 8, Thor Ragnarok. Number 7, Wonder Woman. Number 6, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Number 5, Wolf Warrior 2. Number 4, Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 3, Despicable Me 3. Number 2, The Fate of the Furious. And number 1, Beauty and the Beast.
Really?
Yep. That's as of when this...
Wolf Warrior 2 is number 4 for the year?
5.
I don't see how that's possible unless that's all worldwide, because there's got a 2-week release in America.
Well, that's what it says, worldwide gross.
Okay. So worldwide, this is not exactly equal to America, because I think... I think both Wonder Woman and Guardians were higher than most of those.
For those of you who are going, what the hell is that? Wolf Warrior 2 is a Chinese film.
It's a Chinese action film,
yes, a sequel to a film from 2015 called Surprise, Wolf Warrior.
Yeah, and it was a big hit with the critics, too. And I mean, when they reviewed it, when they chose to review it.
Yep.
Pirates of the Caribbean was not a big hit here in the States either. It did well, but not great well. And Beauty and the Beast wasn't that big of a hit in the States either. Most of that comes right from the worldwide gross. So... I think that's interesting.
It is interesting. I mean...
Could we agree on something else?
Huh?
That perhaps the biggest budget bomb of the year was the new Transformers film?
I think that would be accurate to say, yeah. I think
The Last Night was a...
Transformers
Last Night, right?
Yes. Transformers The Last Night, I think, pretty much sounded the death knell for the Transformers as they've been done, according to Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Although the Bumblebee sequel is on track for 2020.
It's actually, it's not a sequel, I don't think.
It's a prequel.
I think it's a prequel.
Yeah. John Cena is the star of it. I don't know what they'll be doing. I actually was surprised that they just didn't pull the plug on that after this one bombed so badly.
Well, see, the thing is, I was actually surprised at that myself. The thing that makes Transformers The Last Night so different is the fact that it obviously proves that critic-proof movies can actually do poorly with the fans as well if you don't respect the fans' vision.
Because but that doesn't always work. Transformers, the third one, Dark of the Moon, was that the third one?
Yeah.
The last one was Shia LaBeouf, was a critical bonanza. I mean, it was like 4 on Rotten Tomatoes. It was terrible, and it earned something like $200 billion worldwide. It was a monster hit.
Right, but that's
it was a terrible film.
But my point is the fans...
I mean, it wasn't, it wasn't as bad as 2, but it was, or 4, but it was terrible compared to the first one.
My point being, the fans of the Transformers films obviously liked it.
Fans didn't like the fourth one.
No.
And it did well, too.
I was disappointed with the fourth one simply because I was completely over the moon about, yay, Dinobots! And when we actually got the Dinobots in the fourth film, I was like, wait, what?
4 minutes.
I was like, wait, what? What? I mean, I completely...
I'm sorry, number 3 completely soured me.
I had a complete geek tantrum, and I admit it. But like the first Transformers film, it got savaged by the critics. I mean, most of Michael Bay's films get savaged by the critics. Sorry, Mr. Bay. But, but as a Transformers fan, I was sitting there like, oh, damn, this is awesome. I completely geeked out. And
so what happened with The Last Night? We didn't see it. We didn't get the chance to go. So, and in all honesty, I didn't really feel like going.
No.
The commercial and the trailers just left me totally flat.
Well, I was like, what the...
And I hated 4. I gave 4 like a D. I hated it.
I was like, what in the hell? I mean, the whole thing that they brought in all this stuff about the Autobots have been on Earth for, centuries, and we helped with the Autobots fought in World War II against the Nazis and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there going, what the flippin' frog are you talking about? And I did not use those words.
No, she didn't.
I mean, I realize, okay, I know I'm not the demographic for Transformers, fine. But that was one of my favorite shows as a kid. And I was sitting there going, nope, 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 and nope. And, and this sound. That's my wallet shutting saying, no, Hollywood, you're not getting my money this time. I think the thing about why there have been so many bombs is that, especially of larger films, is that people have hit a point where they've realized you can't just slap a sticker on something and expect people to go simply because it has, that brand.
Okay, well, let's look at something else slightly. A lot of Hollywood, especially producers and Michael Bay in particular, again, I'm sorry, have been lambasting that the big problem is Rotten Tomatoes. That they are saying that Rotten Tomatoes is just too, they release their numbers too much and it's hurting their box office.
Right.
Even though those movies, those same scores were up 3 years ago when the fourth Transformer movie got $400 million, even though it had like a 4 on Rotten Tomatoes. It was terrible. I don't buy that argument entirely, and I think, number one, as I said in a printed article on eCinemaOne a couple of weeks ago, people, when they look at Rotten Tomatoes, should look at the audience score. That's people like you, not the critics. Because movies like that are not made for the critics.
Nope.
But on the same side, and this is what I find interesting, critics get extremely upset when they love a film and the public turns its nose up in the air at it. And this can be a smaller film, which is a darling, which only has limited release, or it can be a major box office release that the critics love, and yet it tanks at the box office. We saw this happen in a big way over the last couple of years with 2 Sundance titles, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, and Dope. Both of them were huge critical successes at the beginning, although some critics turned on Me and Earl like a week before it came out. Both movies were touted as the best of Sundance. They earned record sales. And yet when they came out in theaters, the studios I will never understand the strategy of whichever independent studio, I think it was Broad Green, decided to go with a wide release for a limited appeal movie like Dope. And Dope, if you don't know what Dope is a comedy set in urban South Central Los Angeles about kids trying to get through life in a day. It didn't have any big stars in it at the time, although Lakeith Stanfield has become a major star, and so is Tony Revolori since it came out.
That was the first thing he was in that got noticed after the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah, and both of these films, Dope, they were like, oh, it's going to be a big hit, and we can do this right. And they released it the same day as Jurassic World. And you're wondering why it didn't do anything. And then they re-released it later in the summer and did the same thing and released it opposite another big blockbuster. And the ad campaign, the trailers were incomprehensible. People had no freaking clue what this film was about. Now, on the other hand, Me and Earl's trailers were very clear. They were about a kid who was, became friends and befriended a girl who's got a deadly form of cancer, and it was a very sweet, bittersweet love story of sorts. It wasn't really a love story, but it was.
Really, it's all in the title. It's Me and Earl and the Dying Girl.
Critics loved it at Sundance, and then a couple of them turned on it because they thought Greg, the lead character played by Thomas Mann, was a little too narcissistic, and they started slamming on the whole movie because of it, and that helped cut into its box office. It got a minimal wide release. I can't even consider it wide because it was only 600 theaters, and that's not considered wide. 1,000 is considered wide. And it didn't do well at all. I mean, it did not. It was very disappointing, despite the film. It was a terrific film.
Yeah.
The same thing happened this last year. Critics loved Moonlight, and it got such a limited release and even now, it's polarized people. The people that go see it are like, I don't see what all the critics saw in this.
Yep.
And the same goes for a lot of the indie films that were critical darlings over the last couple of years. And it's happening again this year with most films, although there was a little film that could, released quietly in late January or early February last year that had been playing the film festival circuit for about a year. And it was a simple little documentary about cats in Istanbul. The film Kedi became one of the biggest surprises of the year. It came out in limited release. It was in, I think, a total at the top, maybe 100 theaters. It earned more per theater than any documentary since Fahrenheit 9/11 5 or 6 years ago. And it has been on every year-end documentary best top 10 and won a best first documentary from the Critics' Choice Documentary Awards yesterday. So it's an interesting... I mean, that little film was strictly doing that well on word of mouth.
Yep.
You know?
Because it's an amazing film.
It is. It's one of the only 5-star films we are...
The thing that I find really disturbing is something that I've noticed in the last few years. Maybe it's always been there and I've just never seen it. You mentioned how critics, they don't... When a film doesn't do as well as the critics expect it's going to do, it used to be, it seemed to me anyway, that it used to be that if a film didn't do as well as the critics felt like it was going to do, they would be like, oh well, on to the next film. And that was that. In the last few years, the critics have they've taken this attitude of scolding the audiences for not recognizing the genius of whatever.
And on the reverse, scolding the audiences for daring to tell them they're wrong about movies they hate that the audiences love.
Yeah.
Like Batman vs. Superman and Justice League.
It's like the critics say, well, we didn't like this movie. And the people say, well, we thought it was fun. It wasn't perfect, but we enjoyed it. The critics should be like, okay, well, you have your opinion, we have ours. Let's go on to the next thing.
Right.
Critics now are like, well, you have no taste. They basically say,
how dare you? You're wrong.
Yeah, it's basically, you don't agree with me, therefore you're a bad person.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. When did the word of a critic become something from the mouth of God?
I know.
This
is all Roger Ebert's fault. When he died, the critics went nuts. He was able to keep him in reign before he passed away.
Can I bring up what critics do and what we do as critics? We're watching people on a screen playing dress up.
Yeah.
Ta-da. Mm-hmm. That doesn't give you the right to say to somebody else that disagreed with your opinion, you're a bad person. You're a dumb person.
Yeah.
You're obviously...
I've had people slam all over me because I don't keep it a secret that I am not a fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy's films.
Right.
I hated the first one, and the second one was only marginally better. And I've had people tell me I'm completely insane. It's one of the best films of the year. And I'm like, sorry, I don't agree with you. That's fine. I feel the same way this year about a couple of things that I've not thought was terrific or that I've thought was better than the critics. And people were like, well, I don't know if that, I don't agree with that, blah, blah, blah. There was a little film, I don't remember who sent me the tweet on it, but there was a little film I reviewed back in January for a video release called Go North. It starred Jacob Laughlin, who I've been a huge fan of since he was in Mud, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's kid, Patrick, and a number of other people. And although there are a lot of plot holes in this, it's a science fiction apocalyptic thing. There are a lot of plot holes in it. I enjoyed it. And people were like, this is just a piece of crap. How could you ever give this a good review? Oh, it is awful, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I don't agree. The performances were fine. The script had its problems. But there's a couple of twists in it that'll blow your mind and sicken you. And I mean, it was a good film. I liked it. I gave it a B. And people were like freaking out. And I'm like, I don't understand that.
But see, the thing is, people have a right to say to you.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. People have
Absolutely.
a right. Yeah, they do. They have a right to say to you, well, I don't agree with you. I still think it's a bad movie. They also have a right to say to you, well, I went back and looked over the film, and you know what? You brought up this point and this point and this point, and you changed my mind. Thanks a lot. What people don't have a right to do, well, I mean, they actually have a right to do it, but it's a really douchey thing to do, is to say, well, you're wrong about that film, and that makes you a bad person.
Well, I don't think they're saying they're making you a bad person. That just makes you a bad critic.
Or you're stupid.
Yeah, that's more likely,
because first of all, didn't your mom teach you that you don't call other people stupid?
Apparently not.
I mean, I just feel like, and this has got nothing to do with being politically correct, so anybody out there that wants to hit me with that, if you've listened to this show for more than 5 minutes, you know I am one of the least politically correct people ever.
Yeah.
It's just about giving other people respect. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just about being nice to another person.
We loved Kong Skull Island.
Yeah, we did.
And it wasn't a big critical hit, although it wasn't trashed by the critics
it wasn't
either.
going to be. It wasn't a film for critics.
No, and I admit, I'm not a fan like you are. The thing that drew me in was the fact that Thomas Mann was part of the cast.
Yeah.
And we actually had a little friendly bet. Oh, he's not going to make it through the film. I'm like, yeah, he was. She owed me a dinner.
Yeah, and I paid up, too. but see, that was the kind of thing, though. We had our
And I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
We had our differences about that film. You were kind of like, and I was like, yay, kaiju, let's go.
You're a lot more tuned in to Tom Hiddleston than I am. I like him, but I'm not... he's like Tom Hanks or whatever. He's got to have the right role to really, really jazz me up. I think he's terrific as Loki. I've seen him in a couple of other things I like him in, but he was great in Skull Island.
Yeah, he was.
And Crimson Tide he was terrific in too.
Crimson Peak.
And Crimson Tide's the sub movie, isn't it? Yeah, Crimson Peak from Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah,
was terrific, and I mean he was great in that too. But I wasn't sure he could pull off the action hero, and he did a great job with it.
Well, I know. See, my whole thing about that's something else that's really changed over the last few years, and I think it's a good thing. Is the fact that you have people being more adventurous about stepping out into roles that they wouldn't have tried 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that kind of a thing. What you just said about Tom Hiddleston, you're like, I don't know if I could see him as an action hero. That's fair enough.
I didn't know whether I could see him as an action hero because I'd never seen him do an action hero solo movie where he was the star.
Right.
As Loki, he's a supporting character with everybody else, so it works. But I wasn't sure if he could do it there.
But my point is, I understand where you're coming from, and I've stopped myself from thinking, oh well, I can't picture blah 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 as whatever, because what cured me of that was Predators. Because if you had told me that I was going to go see a movie with Adrian Brody as an action hero and be like, damn, that was exciting and fun and wow, that was really cool, and he was believable as an action hero, I would have told you were on drugs.
Right.
And I went and I was like, damn. So that's one thing that's changed over the last few years is that people are being braver about stepping out of their comfort zone. Character-wise.
Let's go the other way for a second when it comes to the critical argument.
Yeah.
A movie that most of the critics raved about, some of them had the same reservations we did, but a movie that most critics raved about was a film from August called Logan Lucky. This film was something that Kim was excited to see it because Daniel Craig was in it, shirtless.
Yep.
And I, who tend to stay away from Channing Tatum films as much as possible, went because I love Adam Driver and I love a couple of the other people in it. And it was, the critics were just colored it, oh my God, it's so funny. It's one of the best movies of the year. And we both gave it at least no bigger than a C and possibly lower. And it wasn't a good film. And it wasn't a good film for a number of reasons. And I'm wondering, did the critics really praise this because it's Steven Soderbergh's return to the big screen after 5 years?
I don't know. Yeah, but the thing is, we both got suckered, too. We both got suckered in. And this has been one of the things...
Suckered in? What do you mean?
I'm getting to that. Every year, I talk about Kim's movie rules. And every year, another rule gets added to it. But one of Kim's movie rules, tried and true movie rules, trailers always lie.
Right.
We saw the trailer for
That's
Logan.
That's no more evident with the trailer for Justice League, about only 5% of which is actually in the film. So I'm just saying anyway.
We saw the trailer for Logan Lucky, and I was sitting there. I laughed my way through the whole trailer. I thought it was hilarious. I was like, oh, this movie is going to be great. This is going to be, it's an old-fashioned heist film with a real down-home spin to it. It's going to be really funny and fantastic. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, man. Oh, boy. Oh, guess who's going to be paying for dinner after this movie? I'm sitting there going, I wonder what kind of wine goes with Crow. Well, other than one scene that was really sweet, the rest of the movie, I was like, when is this going to be over?
No, it had its moments. Daniel Craig was a scream. I mean, he really was that movie. And Adam Driver was good, too. But the film overall was terrible. I'm sorry. It just really was.
The film reviews actually bring up what I wanted to bring up about this year in movies was the fact that after the elections last year in America, once the dust settled, certain of us who are hopefully optimistic. You can't see me, but I'm totally pointing at myself.
Anyway, just the point.
We're like, okay, well, that's done. That's over with. Let's straighten up our clothes and tuck in our shirts and straighten our ties and everybody try and go back to, let's all just go back to acting like human beings again. Oh, was I naive.
Today's politics situation just doesn't allow that.
But see, that's my point. And that never got more clear than in the reviews for Logan Lucky. If you read the reviews for that film, how many critics were like, well, this film is going to appeal to certain types of people, and you can picture them holding their glass of Merlot.
Well, I called out David Ehrlich from IndieWire in my article a few weeks ago because the man can't let go of the election, and he manages somehow in every single review he does. I was surprised he didn't do it. He actually did a for one of the movies that came out recently that we saw, probably Coco. He actually managed to get through the entire review without mentioning the word Donald or the word Trump anywhere, which amazed me because he's had it in every single review all year long.
See, that's what I mean. With Logan Lucky, this will appeal to that audience and so on and so forth. And some people came flat out.
It didn't.
Apparently not.
Not according to the middle of America. The movie was a bomb everywhere.
That's the one thing that I was like, the sniping on both sides has to stop. It has to stop.
It'll be interesting to see what the Post does, too, because the Post, while it is set in the Nixon era, is clearly Spielberg's shot across the bow at the Trump administration, and we'll see what happens. It's getting good reviews from places.
I'm going to make a prediction right now.
Oh, dear. She's doing her whole prediction Karnak imitation here.
I'm going to make a prediction.
Sis boom ba.
I'm going to reach into the ether. A shite ton of angry tweets. From people who should...
I forgot.
That's what's going to happen when the Post comes out. A shite ton of angry tweets from the White House, probably at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
But it's a year over, and we got to look for next year. And we got to, every year we say the same thing. Next year will be different. Next year will be better. Hopefully, next year we stick to that.
Right.
All
I don't
of
know
us.
That we will. Quickly, what do you think happened with Valerian? Valerian had a massive ad campaign. Mm-hmm. The trailer was pummeled at us every single film for 6 months.
Yep.
It had a television ad campaign that started in January at the Super Bowl and then resumed in April. Mm-hmm. The movie came out in July to a collective yawn from the critics and a collective yawn from the American fans.
Yes.
And that's partially because the character isn't known in America the way he is in Europe and particularly in France.
Right.
But the trailer was brilliantly beautiful to look at. And I loved the film, and you only kind of marginally liked it. Why do you think after that marketing campaign that it seemed like most people didn't even know what it was? I mean, people were like, what's this? What's Valerian? Even though they'd seen the trailer at least 20 times over the past 8 months.
Well, I think there were, it could be boiled down to a couple of things. Mm-hmm. One thing, this is a character based on a French comic.
Right.
And
let's keep it talking, and we're talking about the American reaction, by the way, not the world
we're talking
reaction.
about the American reaction. Else. We can't speak for the rest of the world, and we know it was done, it did gangbusters in France because it is a French comic. Mm-hmm. And that's, there are certain characters that I think, even if they're based in specific countries and they're associated with specific countries, there are specific characters that I think it would be fair to say are worldwide.
Like?
James Bond.
Okay.
He is a British secret agent, but he's so well known all over the world, and partially because he goes all over the world,
and yet,
that he's so known everywhere.
And yet 1010, which is also known a lot of places, did not do that well at the box office.
No, that's true too.
And it was a great film. I loved it.
But like other characters like Superman or Batman or Spider-Man
don't translate well outside of America in some cases, according to people who have seen it.
In some cases. Well, obviously some characters do because other countries rip them off. Looking at you, India. But the reason I think that Valerian didn't do very well in this country is because it's a French comic that a lot of Americans probably don't know about unless you're really into comics. And I mean really into comics. Mm-hmm. You know, I think for another thing, just for me, now being a science fiction fan, I was like, oh, okay, neat. So they're actually doing this. From the way the film was marketed, I think a lot of people couldn't figure out what the hell Valerian meant. They were like, is that a person?
They might not have gotten that.
Is that a person? Is that a ship? Is that a planet? What is that?
You even coming with me the first time, I saw it twice. I saw it once in regular and once in 4D. The 4D was a tremendous lot of fun. The opening sequence you adored. You thought it was brilliant.
I do.
And it's set to
Space Oddity.
Space Oddity by David Bowie, and it's a brilliant piece.
It made me cry.
It did.
I won't go into why. But it's a very cerebral film. The big problem with Valerian, the other big problem with Valerian is that it's a cerebral film and an action film, and you can do both. That does happen, and it can work. But sometimes when you try and do both, it's gonna tip more one way than the other way, and that's gonna turn off half your audience.
Yeah.
If it's a cerebral film, it's more cerebral than action, the action fans are gonna get turned off.
Yeah.
And if it's more action than cerebral, the cerebral fans are gonna get turned off.
Yeah.
So you're gonna
you had to think about this one. This is probably the most processing mentally you've had to do with a science fiction film since maybe The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Which was another one of his films. And it's like, okay.
I think another thing is, real quick, it also brings up very uncomfortable ideas. I think a lot of people may not want to admit it, but this film looks at exploitation, it looks at colonization,
racism.
It looks at racism, it looks at a lot of things that people would like to admit out there in the Dr. Evil quotes civilized world that we'd like to think we've grown out of.
Yeah, but you get that from movies like 12 Years a Slave and all those films,
yeah, but
too.
those films are all set in the past.
True.
People would be like, oh, well, this is the future. We've grown out of all that stuff by then.
Okay.
And it's disheartening to find out that we haven't.
All right.
That's what I think.
The last big thing for this week, we'll talk about something else a little bit different, and it was possibly the most momentous movie event this year. The return of Mystery Science Theater 3000 on Netflix.
Yes. We're talking home cinema now.
Yeah, Mystery Science Theater 3000 was an influential show for 10 seasons in the 80s and 90s, and this year Kickstarter brought it back with original creator Joel Hodgson. It has now been renewed for a full season on Netflix, and they will pay for it this time, not the fans.
Yes.
But it is, and they've actually released the numbers, it is Netflix's highest rated show, which I didn't think it had beaten Stranger Things, but it did. It has become just as big a hit as it was the first time around with new cast members, Jonah Ray, what's her name?
Felicia Day.
Felicia Day and Patton Oswalt, who I actually like on this show, amazingly. It's fun and it's exciting, and we couldn't wait.
It's just as fun.
Do you think that it's as good? I mean, do you think that fans obviously like it as much as they like the original?
There's an old saying, you can't go home again. And I've never been a proponent of that. You can always go home again, you just have to find a different room. And you know,
like the lifeguard. Oh, we can't come home. I've made a studio out of your bedroom.
Yeah, you know. Well, I do feel like you can go home again, but when you go home, like I said, you wind up in a different room, and that's okay. I love the new Mystery Science Theater 3000. I was kind of concerned. I have to be honest and say I was a little bit like, okay, well, now we have to start with somebody new. But my fears were instantly allayed when we saw Jonah at one of the riff tracks. Was it the shorts?
He was on. Yeah. He was last year. He and Joel came in to do stuff on the Riff Track Shorts program last year to help plug the show, which was released finally in April.
And I was like, oh, yes, he's going to fit in just fine. And it's been great. I should bring up also real fast, you mentioned people from the new show. I also want to bring up Hampton Yount, who does the voice of Pro-T Robot, and Baron Vaughn, who is the voice of Tom Servo, and Rebecca Hansen, who is the voice of Gypsy. So.
And Rebecca Hansen is also...
Rebecca Hansen also plays Cynthia, who is a clone of Pearl Forrester, who we have seen along with Professor Bobo and Brand
everybody's
Guy.
done a guest shot. Only one that hasn't done a guest shot's Mike, right? Kevin and Peter were there.
I don't think so.
Kevin and Bill were there.
Yeah.
Joel has done a guest shot. We had guest shots from Neil Patrick Harris and a number of other people.
Neil Patrick Harris, Mark Hamill.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun.
It's been wonderful to have the show back. I'm so excited that we're going to get another season.
Yep. And they'll probably have more. There was 14 this season. They'll probably do 18 to 24 next year.
Yeah.
And they probably won't be out until later in 2018 because they just announced their renewal on the Turkey Day Marathon. So it's.
But I'm just excited they're back.
Yeah, I think that's very good.
It's welcoming back old friends.
We'll go over more on the year in review in our next couple of shows. We'll bring you some of the critical darlings, what the critics are saying about this year's awards, with the year-end awards. We have a few of those a little bit later. And a lot more, plus people we've lost this year and more. So stay with us all month. We're going to have a lot of great stuff looking back at 2017.
The best movies! Subject Cinema!
Want to know what top titles from film and TV are hitting home video this week? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out Tuesday Digidex, our weekly roundup of all the new home video releases in the U.S. each week. Whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming you're looking for, we've got it covered. Tuesday Digidex, every Tuesday morning, from Subject Cinema at eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service. Want to know what new films are coming out this weekend? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out 3 Minute Weekend, our weekly roundup of all the new films hitting U.S. theaters each weekend. We've got the 411 on all the new blockbusters, indies, and video on-demand choices for you each week. 3 Minute Weekend, every Friday morning, from Subject Cinema and eCinemaOne.com, a PNR Networks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
Your every man's film school. This is Subject Cinema.
It's kind of a special Grinch watch. We're not really out Grinching a number of things, but we're a little disturbed about the trend that's popping up in the commercials for Christmas shopping this season. We neither one like the incessant Duracell commercial that's popping up over and over again it's on YouTube, it's on every television show where the kids are screaming because Santa didn't bring Duracells.
Yeah.
Oh, horrors.
The whole thing of this commercial is Santa imagining his life going to hell because he uses a different kind of battery than Duracell batteries, and the children's toys on Christmas start breaking down, and the kids are all screaming and throwing tantrums and such, and Santa winds up living in a trailer and so on and so forth.
It's really disgusting. The other one is a cinema ad. I don't know if it's aired on TV, but we've seen it the last couple of times we went to the cinema.
Yeah, the
for
other
Audi.
one. Yeah, the other one. Now, usually when it comes to commercials, my whole thing is, you know, they're a necessary evil. You don't like them. Yeah. You can just ignore them and go about your business. You know, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
This one poked the bear.
She was pissed off at this commercial. Oh, my gosh.
This one poked the bear, and when the bear ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. We saw this commercial in a movie theater, like TC mentioned. It's an Audi commercial. The whole thing of the commercial is two men, each in a different car. They're in one of those multi-tiered parking garages that are common, in most areas lately, unfortunately.
Particularly to shopping centers.
Yeah. And they're trying to find parking spaces, which, at Christmas season
is hard to do. Or unless you're over here at Northgate, it's always impossible to find a parking place at Market Basket.
Yeah, it's pretty, it's pretty rare. So the whole thing of it is these guys basically dueling each other for parking spaces. They're driving pretty damn recklessly, to be honest
they are.
with you. I'm like, Audi, I don't think you want to promote reckless driving in your commercial about cars, but what do I know? And the end of the commercial is them jumping from one parking garage to the next parking garage. Because I'm sitting there going, yeah, wrecked suspensions, anybody? And I don't know anything about cars, and I know that.
Yeah.
We see
and
them,
shocks. Yeah. And a number of other things.
We see them, yes, the Dukes of Hazzard lied to you all those years ago. So anyway, we see them.
There's a Mythbusters about it, if that's how we know.
We see them inside a store. They each have a shopping cart. One of them has the wonky wheel, because somebody has to get that one. And they're both honing in on one specific toy, of which there's only one left. And they're looking at each other very aggressively, doing everything short of unzipping and whipping out their,
Mr. Happy.
Because that's what men do, because they don't have horns. And while all of this is going on, Carol of the Bells is playing in the background.
Oh, she was pissed.
There is so much. I sat there and I was like, well, happy birthday, Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was like, now I know some people are going to be like, oh, crap, here she goes. But
no, she has a right to be going off
I
on
have
this.
a right to be this way. I'm sorry. This is one time I'm going to be, I have a right to be like this. Stop hijacking my holiday. As much as the rest of the world does not want to hear the next statement, Christmas is about celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. There, I said it. Now, whether or not...
Everything else is secondary.
Whether or not you want to acknowledge that or not, and if you just want to be like, Christmas is a time of year when it should be family and love and, good times and stuff, you know what? That's awesome, too. Yeah. I have absolutely no problem with that. Yep. What I have an enormous problem with is making a whole commercial about aggression and greed
and anger
at what is supposed to be a time of year that is about giving and beauty and joy and, more important than anything else, love.
Yep.
Shame on you, Audi. Shame on you.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm done.
I don't know. We'd love to know if there's any more of these negative Christmas commercials out there or holiday commercials. It doesn't have to be Christmas.
I'm not saying they have to be cloying.
No, but they don't need to be. They don't need to highlight the negative aspects of it.
They don't need to be nasty.
And usually it involves Santa or shopping.
Yeah.
It's the negative stuff. So it's just an interesting thing.
Which is really, really sad when you consider the fact that you can turn on the news and hear about people killing each other at Black Friday sales or whatever other kind of sale. People, it's stuff.
There was actually a great, plugging them again because we love them. There was a great List 25 this week about 25 crazy incidents that have happened on Black Friday. And it's Mike is very frustrated at some of the stuff he's talking about. You can tell that. It's a great little view, and I'll try to put a link to it in the notes.
It's stuff.
It's stuff, yeah.
It's stuff. It's things. You're...
Make the holidays about family, not about
Make the holidays
anger.
About love and happiness.
And if you have to have this kind of stuff for the holidays, make sure it's accompanied by Bob Rivers' The 12 Pains of Christmas. Because that pretty much describes everything that's hateful about Christmas.
Yeah. Frustrating.
Exactly. More Grinch Watch as we get closer to the holidays, I'm sure. Hey, have you heard the news? It's award season.
Really?
Yeah, really. It's award season. Red Carpet Monitor, the first week of this week, we got a few of the awards that have happened in the past few weeks, going over them really quickly. If you want to go over them with me, we'll run them down here. Can you pull up, and we'll get to you in a minute, can you pull up the winners of the Gotham Awards, and we'll talk about those in a minute.
Okay.
Right now, the National Board of Review, this is the review group out of New York that you have to pay $700 a year to be a member, and it's kind of a fan-based group, but it evolved from the Hays Code people. Their best film is The Post, the Steven Spielberg look into the Pentagon Papers. Best director went to Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird. Best actor, Tom Hanks, The Post. Best actress, Meryl Streep, The Post. You could tell who they wanted at their awards dinner, for sure. Best supporting actor, Willem Dafoe, The Florida Project. Best supporting actress, Laurie Metcalf, Lady Bird. Best foreign language film, Foxtrot. Best animated feature, Coco. Best documentary, Jane. Best adapted screenplay, The Disaster Artist. Best original screenplay, Phantom Thread. Best directorial debut, Jordan Peele for Get Out, which we didn't talk about. We should have talked about that.
Yeah, I know.
Best ensemble went to Get Out. Breakthrough performance to Timothée Chalamet for Call Me By Your Name. Spotlight Award went to Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot for Wonder Woman. Freedom of Expression Award, two of them, went to Let It Fall, Los Angeles, 82 to 92, about the lead up to the riots in Los Angeles, and First They Killed My Father, which is Angelina Jolie's movie about the Khmer Rouge, I believe. The top films overall this year from them: Baby Driver, Call Me By Your Name, The Disaster Artist, Downsizing, Dunkirk, The Florida Project, Get Out, Lady Bird, Logan. There's a surprise. And Phantom Thread. And the top 10 independent films: Beatrice at Dinner, Brigsby Bear, A Ghost Story, Lady Macbeth, Logan Lucky, Loving Vincent, Menashe, Norman, The Moderate Rise and Tragic Fall of a New York Fixer, Patty Cakes, and Wind River. Top foreign language films were Fantastic Woman, Friends, Loveless, Summer 1993, and The Square. And the top 5 documentaries they awarded to Abacus, Small Enough to Jail, Brimstone and Glory, Eric Clapton, Life in 12 Bars, Faces, Places, and Hell on Earth, The Fall of Syria and the Rise of ISIS. Their dinner will be in January, probably filled with luminaries that were nominated and won the awards.
Yep. The Gotham Awards, the 27th annual Gotham Independent Film Awards.
I'm happy about the Gotham Awards. You'll see why in a minute.
Which is hosted by the Independent Filmmaker Project.
IFP,
Yep. Were held this year on November 27th. And these are the people who won the awards. Best Feature, the winner was Call Me By Your Name. Best Documentary, Strong Island. Best Actor, James Franco as Tommy Wiseau, the disaster artist. Best Actress, Charisse Ronan as Christine Lady Bird McPherson, Lady Bird.
It's Cersei Ronan.
Cersei?
Yeah.
I knew I was going to mess that up.
I always do. I always want to say it wrong.
Ms.
I always
Ronan.
spell it wrong, too.
I'm so sorry, Miss Ronan. I am, because you're a wonderful actress and a very nice person.
Yep.
Best Screenplay went to Jordan Peele for Get Out. Breakthrough Actor, this is another one I'm going to ruin. I'm sorry. Timothée Chalamet,
I guess.
Told you. I was going to mess it up. I'm so sorry. As Elio Perlman, Call Me By Your Name. Excuse me. The Bingham Ray Breakthrough Director Award was given to Jordan Peele for Get Out. Breakthrough Series Long Form, the winner was Atlanta. Breakthrough Series Short Form, The Strange Eyes of Dr. Mize. The Audience Award went to Get Out. The Special Jury Award for Ensemble Performance went to Mudbound for Jonathan Banks, Mary J. Blige, Jason Clarke, Garrett Hedlund, Jason Mitchell, Rob Morgan, and Carey Mulligan. The Made in New York Award went to Michael Kenneth Williams, and the Gotham Tributes went to Jason Blum, Sophia Coppola, Al Gore, Dustin Hoffman, Nicole Kidman, and Ed Lockman.
Happy about Franco's win there.
Yes,
Definitely.
I know you are.
Winners of the second annual Critics' Choice Documentary Awards, the first of their 3 awards. Best Documentary went to Jane, which is a documentary about the early years of primate specialist Jane Goodall. Director was a tie of Evgeny Alfinsky for Christ from Syria and Frederick Wiseman for the 3-hour and 50-minute Ex Libris, the New York Public Library. Rave reviews for that one. Best first documentary went to Ketty. Best political documentary to Abacus, Small Enough to Jail. Best sports documentary to Icarus, which also probably could have won Best Political Documentary. Best Music Documentary, Clive Davis, The Soundtrack of Our Lives. Best Song in a Documentary, Jump, from the film Step. Best Documentary Series, The Vietnam War, which should be properly phrased as Ken Burns' The Vietnam War. Best Ongoing Documentary Series, American Masters, and Best Most Innovative Documentary was a tie between Dawson City, Frozen Time, and Last Men in Aleppo. There are all kinds of daily, the LA critics are going right now. They're actually at lunch break. We'd hope to bring it to you, but we'll do it next week. We have a lot of awards to come, and I was just looking at the calendar. IndieWire didn't include the major film places. I thought Boston was due to announce today, but apparently not. So in the next few weeks, we have the Annie Award nominations, which will be out tomorrow. Those are the animation awards. I expect it to probably be dominated by Coco, Loving Vincent, and possibly Captain Underpants, which we didn't talk about either, which was one of the best movies of the year. We also have the Critics' Choice nominations coming out on the 6th, which is Wednesday, and that's for both television and film, since they combine them. European Film Awards will be given out on December 9th. That's next week. The IDA Documentary Awards ceremony will be out on the 9th as well. British Independent Film Awards will be handed out on December 10th. Golden Globe nominations will be out on December 11th. SAG nominations on December 13th. And then we get into January with the announcement of the award-winning awards to start with the Annie Awards and a number of others. And, of course, in between there and now, there will be about 20 cities. Boston, New York Online, the online critics will announce San Antonio, Austin, Toronto, and all the other ones. Quentin Tarantino. John Waters always releases his top 10. His number one film of the year was Baby Driver, which seems awfully mainstream for John. John usually goes for a hard to find, surreal. Although he did pick Inglourious Bastards a couple years ago too.
Yeah.
So John also included a couple of other films I'd never heard of, in all honesty. It's going to be an interesting awards season, and we will be covering it both here and on eCinemaOne.com. Hopefully we'll have lists of everything up as they come out. It's going to be fun, people, so stick around. December is just starting.
No film is too good or too bad for us. This is Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
All movies, all the time. Subject Cinema.
The Silver Stream.
My father bought you, along with a piece of land not fit enough for a cow to graze upon. You will remain indoors with your prayer book.
I like the fresh air. I like being outside.
Take it off. Your nightdress, take it off. Face the wall. Face the wall!
Kim has been patiently waiting to see this film all year. We were trying to get out to the Kindle when it was there, but we didn't get a chance to. So when it hit pay-per-view on demand, she dallied up to the bar and plunked down our order for it, and she got a chance to see it. Florence Pugh, in one of the most nominated films of the year in Britain, Lady Macbeth. Give us the rundown.
Okay. The time is 1865, and the place is England in the rural parts of the country. And yet we see a marriage between a woman named Catherine and a man named Alexander Lester. Catherine is pretty and young and looks about as happy to be married as someone facing a firing squad. Alexander is older than her by quite a bit and looks like he would rather be any place else than here getting married to this young woman. They live on an estate which is owned by Alexander's father, whose name is Boris, who is a really hateful, mean, rotten type of person. Catherine is not allowed to leave the house. She has to do everything her husband says, which are in some cases a bit weird. I mean, you definitely get the feeling that this is not a marriage of any sort of love. You almost get the feeling these people didn't know each other before they got married. Mm-hmm. Boris is constantly on Catherine's case about the fact that she has not yet produced a son and heir. But since it seems like Alexander shows absolutely no interest in making love to his wife, failing osmosis or an immaculate conception, I don't see how that's going to occur. A day comes when both Boris and Alexander leave the estate on separate business, and Catherine has the house to herself, along with a housemaid named Anna. So she decides that she's going to go outside because she's going crazy being stuck in this house. When she goes outside, she finds Anna playing this kind of odd sort of a game with the men that work for the family, the field hands and such. It seems to, I don't know what kind of, she's suspended in almost like a makeshift hammock from this hook in the ceiling. And it's obvious that whatever they're doing, she's enjoying it. It's really kind of weird. One of the gentlemen is a man named Sebastian. And the second Catherine and Sebastian lay eyes on each other, the attraction is instant, and the fact that they both really want each other is very obvious. Sebastian starts coming to the house, and Catherine starts letting him into the house and into her bed. And things are the way they are for a while, and she's actually happy until her father-in-law, unfortunately, comes home and finds out about this relationship, has Sebastian beaten. Catherine takes revenge, and things spiral from there into, violence and surprise children and other terrible things, culminating in an ending that I don't think anybody expected, but it's really a pretty big quagmire by the end.
With Florence Pugh as Catherine, Cosmo Jarvis as Sebastian, Paul Hilton as Alexander, Naomi Ackel as Anna, Christopher Fairbank as Boris, Golda Roussevel as Agnes, and a number of other people. Was it worth the wait? I didn't see this one. This is all her.
Well, little background. This is based on a novel called Lady Macbeth of the Matinsk District by Nikolai Leskov. So It's Russian in origin. And I personally don't understand why they felt like they had to take it from the Russian setting and change it to England, because...
It's an adaptation.
I know it's an adaptation, and that's great, but I'm sorry, the Russian version, I would have watched that in a second. I was really excited about this film. It's really moody. It's really atmospheric. The costumes are amazing. There's some really good scenes in this film. But the end of this movie is so friggin' infuriating. I sat there and I was like, no. No. Movie, don't you dare. Son of a bitch. I said that out loud alone in the house. I was like, actually, I used a few more words.
I'm sure you did.
Between son of and bitch. There was a few more things in there.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The end of this had me, like, plate flinging angry. I was just...
Yike.
Florence Pugh as Catherine is really mesmerizing to watch. She's definitely a woman. Catherine is, she's in a situation that, most modern women could never even comprehend being in this kind of a situation, especially modern women in America. Mm-hmm. Could never contemplate the idea of being married to somebody that you don't know. You really get the impression in the wedding scene at the beginning that these people have just met, mm-hmm. almost. You get that feeling. And so being, someone, a modern woman in the 2000s, I'm watching this and I'm sitting there going, I was like, oh no.
There goes that neck moving again.
I was like, no, you didn't just talk to her like that. And I realize it's another time and all that stuff like that, but it does fan that kind of, this is not a good date movie. This is not, trust me, this is not a good date movie.
It's got to be better than An Inconvenient Truth.
Well, yeah, Birdemic joke.
Yeah.
I also do want to bring up something. I don't want to spoil the movie for anybody who does see it, and I do recommend seeing it if you like a really intense drama. There is one scene involving violence against a child, and they don't shy away from it.
Okay.
So if that's a trigger for you,
don't
see this film. Okay. Just being perfectly honest, and because I love you guys and I don't want anybody to get screwed up.
Yep.
It's very... You watch this and as you're watching it, it's like you're watching two trains and they're both going to hit, and there's going to be catastrophe and death and chaos, and you can't look away, because eventually it's all just going to go wrong. And when it goes wrong, it goes spectacularly wrong. But the ending, man, oh my gosh, the ending of this movie, I was so angry. I was so furious.
You said you felt ripped off.
I did. I felt ripped off. I felt like, what? Seriously? You're going to end this movie? F you, movie! I was really, really, really angry with the direction William Oldroyd decided to take this, especially because, the source material, like I said, it is Russian, so you've got Russian backgrounds and Russian situations, and I like that ending better. This ending, I was just like, I'm sorry, I like closure. Sue me. I like closure. That's just who I am. I give Lady Macbeth a B-.
The Silver Stream.
I want to talk. I've been thinking about you and me. About how this is going to end. About who will end up killing who. Perhaps you'll kill me. Perhaps I'll kill you.
There's another movie that Kim has been wanting to see for a while. It's a DVD that is now available on demand. And, of course, if she's that rabid about seeing it, you know it's an animation film. Probably from DC. And probably about Batman. Right on all counts. Here's Kim's review of Batman, The Killing Joke.
Batman, The Killing Joke is based on the graphic novel of the same name, written by Alan Moore and Brian Boland. The Killing Joke is told in a flashback, mostly, about Batgirl and where she is at the beginning of the film and where she goes to by the end of the film and what happens in between. The beginning of the film is Batgirl out on patrol and doesn't stop a robbery from occurring, but manages to stop one of the criminals with assistance from Batman. The person who is in charge of the criminals, a gentleman named Paris Franz, who is the nephew of a mob boss, develops what could be kindly referred to as an unhealthy obsession with Batgirl and seeks her out in a sexual manner, which never actually gets anywhere, although she does wind up having sex during the film with Batman in a rooftop scene. After this occurs, which there is no amount of whiskey will take away from my brain, she tries to speak to Batman, who cuts her off. It was not happy sex, by the way. It was angry sex, which is always a really bad idea. A few nights later, Barbara is at home entertaining her father for the evening, and they're just talking and stuff like that, when she answers a knock at the door to be met by one of Batman's greatest enemies, the Joker, who doesn't even know that Barbara is Batgirl. He has just shown up for Commissioner Gordon to make an example of what happens when one good man has one bad day. The attack on Barbara is brutal as the Joker shoots her right in front of her father. Commissioner Gordon is kidnapped and taken to an amusement park where the Joker's plan is basically to prove that if one good man has one bad day, he can go completely and irreversibly mad, which the Joker claims is what happened to him. And what follows after that is his attempts to break Jim Gordon mentally and Batman's determination to bring the Joker down.
With Kevin Conroy returning as the voice of Bruce Wayne in Batman, Mark Hamill as the Joker, Tara Strong as Batgirl and Barbara Gordon, Ray Wise as Commissioner Gordon, John DiMaggio as Francesco, Robin Atkin Downs as Detective Bullock, Brian George as Alfred, J.P. Carlack as Reese, Maury Sterling as Paris, and a few other people, including Kerry Worldgren and a number of well-known Warner Brothers workers. You waited for this for months.
I did.
Despite terrible reviews, you still insisted on seeing it. What did you think?
If you can fast forward through the first 30 minutes, after that it's great.
So it's What's Up Rockers then.
The first 30 minutes of this film, I'm sitting there going, what? Wait a minute, huh? Why? The whole idea that they have taken Batgirl at the beginning of this film and turned her into a comic book cliche is maddening.
Explain what you mean.
That she's supposed to be this strong woman who thinks she's in charge and can take control of things, but when stuff goes wrong, she still has to have a man back her up. And the fact that because she's a young woman with a sex drive, she's automatically going to want to have sex with an older, more dominant man. And then become this clingy kind of girlfriend cliche.
Gotcha, okay. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait, huh? There is so much, and I realize I'm going off on a tangent, and I'm being a total geek, and I don't care. There is so much wrong with the idea of Barbara Gordon wanting to have sex with Batman.
Yeah.
There is even more wrong with the idea of Batman wanting to have sex with Barbara Gordon. And this is having sex. This is not making love. This is having sex. It's actually hate beeping, but I can't use that word because it's a family show. It's hate sex on a roof in costume. Good God Almighty. I'm sorry. I was just sitting there like, I need a shower.
You were warned about this ahead of time, though.
I know, but I was like, good God Almighty, I didn't think it was going to be like this. I heard people complain about the film, but I didn't go into why they were complaining. I wanted to find out on my own. And I was like, huh? From there, the whole story is basically the same thing that we get in the graphic novel, which is amazing. It's an amazing graphic novel. It's, as far as I know, up till that point, it was the canon of the Joker's origin story. Now, since we've, done retcon after retcon since then, to the point where my brain hurts, I don't know if that's true anymore. And the Joker himself has said if he has to have a past, it might as well be multiple choice. But if this is true, if this is really who the Joker was before he had that one bad day, it's heartbreaking. It really is heartbreaking. Kevin Conroy, it goes without saying, is Batman to me. His voice is the voice of Batman. And Mark Hamill, oh boy. Mark is just so amazing anyway. His take on the Joker is so
Jokery.
Perfect. It's perfect. The part that I want to bring up real quick, that it's my favorite part in the comic, in the novel, and I wasn't sure about how they were going to do this at the end, but I was really happy with the way they did it. At the end of everything, there's a scene with the Joker and Batman where the Joker tells Batman a joke, and he laughs, it's this weak kind of a laugh that the Joker has. It's not his usual cackle. And then the most terrifying thing happens when Batman starts to laugh. And they laugh together. And there is something...
That seems wrong.
No, it's straight out of the novel.
I know, but it still seems wrong.
There is something so frightening about hearing Batman laugh. There's just something about it that I just was like, I remember kind of being like, I really need someone to hold me right now, because I really am scared. Like I said, if you can get past the first half hour, it's very faithful to the graphic novel. But that first half hour takes you so out of the core story. I don't know why, in the name of all that's decent, they felt like they needed to do that. It was like taking this great novel and tacking on prologue that was written as fan fiction by, like, a really ardent shipper. Somebody that really wants to ship characters that should never be together. I give Batman the Killing Joke a B-.
The Last Reel.
You want to say something about one of your heroes as we come up on the release of Star Wars The Last Jedi?
I do. I wanted to send a special shout-out and a special you're awesome to Mark Hamill. Besides the fact that Mark is just awesome and was the first man that I ever looked at and went, I'm going to marry that man, when I was 8. Mark recently put up a tweet which I thought was just showed what kind of a person he is and how much his character of Luke Skywalker means to him. And it's awesome to know that Luke means as much to him as Luke means to all of us. In 1980's Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, Luke, while on patrol on the ice planet of Hoth, is attacked by an indigenous creature to the planet, a large animal known as a WAMPA. The WAMPA kills the Tauntaun that was carrying Luke and takes the Tauntaun and Luke back to its cave. Luke wakes up hanging upside down like a piece of meat in a pantry and watches as the WAMPA continues to devour the Tauntaun and then moves on to have Luke for dessert. Luke manages to reach out with the Force, grab his lightsaber, cut himself down, and swings at the WAMPA, and we see in an incredibly graphic scene, which is even more graphic in the extended cut, the WAMPA's arm is sliced off and hits the ground with a big old thunk. Well, apparently, that is not the way Mark Hamill was told this scene was going to go. In a tweet that he put up on November 27th, he said this, quote, "When filming scene, I was assured my lightsaber swipe toward the camera creature was not on set, would simply singe fur to scare him off. Horrified to later see amputation and unnecessary cruelty. Wampa was hungry, not evil. Luke would never do this. Hashtag still angry 2017. I really want to say that this is the kind of thing, and I actually tweeted Mr. Hamill about this, that kind of an attitude is one of the reasons I fell head over gaga crazy in love with Luke as a little person, and why I fell in love with Mark as well. Mark knows the character of Luke Skywalker. He's lived with Luke Skywalker as part of his being since the first film, and he respects Luke, and he respects the fans who respect Luke. The fact that he knows that Luke was a good-hearted person who wouldn't try to kill an animal that had, yes, it had attacked him, but it had attacked him as prey, not as, I'm a big evil wampa and I'm going to eat you because I'm big and evil and mean. I think that shows the humanity that Mark put into the character, and it shows the depth of humanity in Mark Hamill the person. So, 2 thumbs way up in the air and 2 fully blasty shiny lightsabers to Mark Hamill for just being an all-around awesome person that I can't wait to see later on this month in Star Wars The Last Jedi. So that's why he gets our kudos for this week in The Last Reel.
Woohoo! Well, I hope everybody liked our first of 3 shows on the year in review, what we're going to be looking at as we look back at a volatile year in entertainment, 2017. We're just getting, next week we're going to have more Film Critics Awards for you. The LA Awards are still going on as we're recording. And we had the New York Film Critics came out the other day. We forgot to do them in Red Carpet Monitor. So we'll throw those in with the rest of the critics next week. A lot of great stuff coming up in the next few weeks. We're going to be running, scrambling, going crazy, trying to catch up with some stuff that I definitely want to see before we do the Poppies and Rosies. A lot of them were on the National Board of Film list, and National Board of Review list, and it's just going to be a lot of crazy stuff. You got a lot of crazy stuff going on too.
Yeah, I do.
Before we go, I want to remind you to subscribe to Subject Cinema if you don't already. Please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button near it on whatever site you're listening to, and share us with your friends by hitting the share buttons available on YouTube, on SoundCloud, on Libsyn, on iTunes. And please leave us a review on those sites. We could definitely use it. But most importantly, subscribe, like, and share. Because those are how we spread the word. Don't want to forget the Subject Cinema app as well. The Subject Cinema app plays all 4 of our shows. Subject Cinema, Front Row 5 and 10, 3-Minute Weekend, and Tuesday Digidex every week. And you have access instantly the minute they become online. They go online for the app and on Libsyn about 4 hours before they actually premiere on our website. So definitely go check that out. It's a quickie. It's free for Android users, and we do have an iPhone and Amazon versions on the way after the first of the year, probably. Our other shows, we missed Front Row 5 and 10 this week due to our busy schedule, but when we come back this week on Thursday, hopefully, we will be doing our top 10 dumbest TV shows.
Yep.
And these are the concepts we're talking about.
Yep.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. That was my idea. And hopefully everybody will enjoy that. It'll be on our Subject Cinema channel for our Thursdays as every week, Front Row 5 and 10. Tuesday Digidex and 3-Minute Weekend are up every week on Tuesday and Friday. Tuesday on the home video front and Friday on the film front, giving you all the latest releases, and you can check those out at eCinemaOne.com or on their individual feeds from Libsyn, and of course they are all bundled together. And next week we will have a new way to listen to those 2 shows, so it'll be interesting to see that. Plus we have a few other things going on.
Yes. One of the other things going on would be my podcast, Platinum Rose's Garden, which is my look at Supernatural. I do an episode recap and talk about the show and other things going on with the show. This week I will be doing a recap of the episode The Scorpion and the Frog. Platinum Rose's Garden starting this week is going to be moving to Sunday nights instead of Saturday nights, so check your calendars. Also there is, the show that TC does, which is, the Catastrophe Vortex.
Catastrophe Vortex will be back this week on Wednesday, and it's going every other week until the first of the year, and we're moving to Monday for a reason we'll explain in a minute. And, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to revamp the show a little bit to make it a little bit easier to do, but after the first of the year, but our first new show will be up in a month. I'm sorry. It's just been crazy, and I'm trying to get everything done. Hopefully you'll be listening to it at CatastropheVortex.com. Don't forget Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie Lyon had a couple of great travelogue shows up recently about their trip out west.
Yep.
And they're always fun. And don't, by the way, if you haven't seen it, I will try to have a link in the show notes. Eric's daughter Courtney has a fantastic, or had it ends today, a fantastic art exhibit at Columbia University where she's a student. Amazing artwork.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that you check it out. I'll have the Facebook art.
She has a link on her Facebook page to her work, and her work is really something special.
It's really something. And don't forget Comic Grotto with Anthony and Pee-wee, and B and Pee-wee. They may be back a little early. Things are going on down there. They weren't going to be back till January, but there's some changes going on, and we'll see what happens. But they still blog every week at comicgrotto.com. Now, the State of the State address that I do every year on the website will be available on day and date as you're listening to this on Monday, probably around noon. It's going to explain some of our plans for the next year, including a brand new podcast Kim will premiere next month.
Yep.
And also a brand new dramatic presentation that PNRNetworks is working on as a group. You will hear all of us as part of this. It will be ready in January also. And there will be all few other things going on. I will also have up, if you're interested in holiday music, but you're tired of the same crap over and over and over again, the radio stations who never stop playing the same 25 Christmas songs every freaking year. Nobody can break in. You gotta hear "Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree," and then you gotta hear "Have a Holly Jolly Christmas." I got a channel for you. It's TKR's Unconventional Christmas, our playlist of over 50 songs that are great, pop, fun, that you probably don't hear of, or if you have heard of them, you don't hear them that often, and they're probably in the late hours on the all Christmas stations. Although I don't think anybody really touches Another Lonely Christmas because it's got a swear word in it.
Yeah.
But it's a great song. And so please listen. The link to that will be up tomorrow as well. And it's a great playlist for the holidays. And I hope you will not only go over and listen, I hope you will follow and subscribe there as well. And let all your other friends who listen to Christmas music know that channel is available. As well as Christmas Every Day, our other TKR Christmas channel, which has over 400 songs, all the stuff you're tired of hearing, plus some of the stuff you're not tired of hearing, and all that stuff all together. You can make your choice, and we'll have links to both of them tomorrow.
Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
More to come in the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
And counting down to the Poppies and Rosies again. 13th annual Poppies and Rosies. This is really scary.
Yep.
We've been doing this for that long?
Yes,
wow.
we have.
Okay. For Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2017 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.